Right, hello everybody. This is Robert Pimm, ready to read from my great book, which is here. It's the 7 Hotel Stories. I realise it's backwards on your screens because of the way that my iPhone works, but I'm going to read from this book. I'm going to keep talking for a second or two just to see if anybody else logs on, because I know that people may take a bit of getting used to the technology. It's the first time I've done one of these live streams, but I know from long experience of doing countless very important video conferences that lots of people, if you say 2145, they always chip in. They always appear at 2150 or 2153. So I'm just going to keep talking for a second, and then I'm going to start my story, because if you miss the beginning of the story, then you'll regret it. So great to see you, Christian. Great to see you, Andy and Anita and Vienna Theatre Project, and several other people are also watching. I think we have 26, which is great. So here's to all of you. Greetings, watchers and listeners. Is anyone having problems with a frozen frame? It's working okay on my computer here. So here's to all you. If any of you would like to get yourselves a drink, you've got another 90 seconds before I get started. So now is your chance. Yeah, that's right, Doretta. Once upon a time is exactly right. We're going to say that in a moment. And hello from Portland. Hello, Catherine. And Karen from the wildest Scotland. Great to see you there online. And Pamela, greetings. And lots of people. Anita, this is great to see you all. Welcome, welcome. And Paul from Kiev, this is truly an international gathering. So that's great to see. We're up to 32 people watching, and our task is to keep them watching until the end of the story. So I'm just going to have a sip of wine. And then we're going to get started. So this is a story called The Two Rooms. Greetings there from Pimlico. And The Two Rooms is the very first of the hotel stories. And it introduces the two main characters from the hotel stories, who are Ms. N, glamorous, petite, the world's greatest and deadliest hotel manager, Ms. N. Of course, she never reveals her name for obvious reasons, which will become clear as you listen to the story. And also her ally, Tatiana, who is a beautiful but rather naive receptionist who narrates the stories in her rather broken English, Tatiana. And we never say quite where these stories are taking place, the hotel stories. They may be somewhere in the former Soviet Union. One of them takes place in Florida, in a resort hotel. One of them, the later one, that's not in the 7 hotel stories, there's a story called 7 Ukrainian Girls, which takes place in a resort on possibly the Red Sea. But this first story, The Two Rooms, takes place in a country of the former Soviet Union. There are 3 time sections in this story. So the first is at 12:34, just after lunch. The second is at 16:05, so late afternoon. And the third is at 1900. Now, greetings, Gerhard. I'm not going to respond to your comments while I'm reading the story, but I will be available to answer questions at the end if people want to put questions up at the end. So here we go. The Two Rooms, 12:34. I am not moving, Tatiana. That's final. Mr. Burke is a tall, dark-haired man in a designer denim jacket with subtle stubble and a deep, melodious voice. He is achingly good-looking, and he knows it. Unfortunately, sir, you're booked to move out at 10 a.m. today. All our rooms are full this evening. I want to speak to the general manager. That lovely voice again. I wish he would use it to say something else. Yes, sir. I'm afraid the general manager is not available right now. But if you'd like to speak to the hotel manager, I'll be happy to arrange that. I smile my 1,000-watt smile. Whoever. but I'm not moving out of my room. I'm calling the hotel manager now. I wish I could tell Mr. Burke about the imminent arrival of our morally irreproachable Prime Minister Kaya, and the fact that even if Mr. Burke were not being awkward, the hotel would already be one room overbooked. But of course I cannot tell him any of this. So, I don't see this manager you promised. I don't pay 5-star rates to wait for a receptionist. Mr. Burke sticks his hands in his pockets and turns his back on me, leaning the elbows of the denim jacket on the counter and looking out at the lobby. It's a fine lobby with a 30-metre water feature and a sushi bar with a Michelin star. But I know he's turning his back to indicate his disgust with me and the service I'm providing. In fact, he's trying to humiliate me. But this is okay. I'm trained to stay calm. I keep smiling at his back and look around for any other customers who need help. The first thing I see is 2 men in dark suits moving towards the counter. The second thing is the hotel manager gliding into view from the business centre on the other side of the lobby. The 2 dark suits are nearly at the counter. They're walking stiffly, as though the fabric of the suits is too rigid to be able to move properly. I turn towards them and try the smile out again. "Yes, sir. How may I help you?" "It must be pork," the first man says. "Tonight. Anything else is not acceptable." This problem is an easy one for me because I've explained it to customers many times. "I understand your preference," I say brightly, "but unfortunately the Ministry of Agriculture has banned all pork products following the health scare last month. There is no pork available in the whole country. If our hotel were to import or serve pork products, we would be breaking the law." The second man looks at me as if I'm an idiot. In fact, he looks at me with such contempt that I wonder if I am, in fact, an idiot and have simply never noticed it up to now. "You do not understand. Your hotel is arranging a banquet tonight for the birthday of our patron, Mr. Dolgoff. For this, we are paying you $800 a cover, excluding the drinks, which will include Chateau Petrus and Dom Perignon, all sourced from your cellars. Mr. Dolgoff agreed personally with the hotel owner, his friend, Ms. Sophia, that we would hold this event here in this hotel. Ms. Sophia assured Mr. Dolgoff that this would be the best birthday of his life. Yet now, you are telling me that the pork for the main dish, which we ordered at Mr. Dolgoff's express request 2 months ago, is not available. You will find some pork." Behind the 2 men in suits, I see that the hotel manager, whose name is Ms. N, is heading for Mr. Burke. Ms. N is from a large European country which is rich in talent, but which has not yet provided a general manager for any hotel in our chain, and everyone is expecting she will be promoted to general manager any moment. She started off working reception, like me. She still helps out sometimes when things are busy. She is short, even in the high heels she always wears in the hotel, and she always has an inquisitive expression, as if she is figuring out how to solve some problem. Maybe she always is. That is her job, solving problems. Ms. N is the best problem solver in the world. I want to be like her. Ms. N has identified Mr. Burke as an unhappy customer. She walks up to him and stops close enough to engage, but not so close she has to peer up at him. She has amped up the inquisitive look with a hint of a smile, so that she looks as if she is fascinated to meet him. I see he has clocked that she is a person of power. Already he has taken his elbows off the counter. "Unfortunately," I begin to say to the 2 men in suits, We cannot serve pork in the hotel tonight, or else... Go! The second dark suit is shaking his head and has raised his voice. Do you think I am an idiot? No, sir, of course I do not. Do you think I do not know that if Mr. Dolgov and the owner of this hotel wish to serve pork, there will be pork? I nod, distracted by a commotion at the front door. A gang of security grillers with ear wires and square coats has spilled in from the street and is attempting to spread out in the lobby. This must mean that Prime Minister Kaya is about to arrive with his delegation of 40 negotiators, note-takers and baggage carriers. The guerrillas seem to be looking for trouble, and they've found it. They're trying to push out of the way a line of journalists and TV cameras whose position Ms. N agreed with the journalists about an hour ago. The journalists, who include a prize-winning TV investigative hotshot who has been making an exposé of the life of our morally irreproachable Prime Minister, do not like being pushed. Yes, Mr. Burke, how may I help you? I hear Ms. N say. I am a platinum megastar member of this hotel, Mr. Burke replies, and I am not prepared to be treated like this. Pork is a must-have, the second dark suit says to me. We got permission to stand here, the prize-winning journalist is shouting as a security man pushes in. I see that a short, swarthy man wearing a black polo neck under a formal suit has slipped between the security grillers and is scurrying towards the counter. A couple of bellboys have appeared, pushing 2 trolleys loaded with matching Louis Vuitton luggage. The owners of the luggage, a flamboyant Swiss gay couple who have been staying at the hotel for a month, have materialised at the counter, ready to check out. They're chatting happily and seem oblivious to their surroundings. Things are looking busy, I think. Ms. N is looking Mr. Burke in the eye and nodding calmly, but I know for a fact she is logging everything which is happening in the lobby because her left eyebrow is slightly raised. I see her say a few words to Mr. Burke, take a deep breath and smile. Then Mr. Burke is turning round and sloping off towards the lobby lounge, wiggling his fine buns in his tight chinos as if he owns the place. Ms. N turns to me. Thank you, Tatiana, she says. Please can you check out Ms. Feuchtwangler and Ms. Cladders? She smiles at the gay couple who beam back. Then she turns to the dark suits. Let me make you an appointment with the food and beverages director, she says. Without waiting for a response, she whips out her telephone and talks for a moment, then she pockets the phone and nods at them in a way which signals, all sorted. There, she says. He will see you for a private meeting in the Platinum Megastar Lounge at 6 o'clock precisely. She hands each of them one of the shiny metallic vouchers which grant access to the Platinum Megastar Lounge on the 20th floor. A private meeting! The first dark suit leers at her slyly, as if she has proposed something indecent. The Platinum Megastar Lounge! The second dark suit is actually standing up straighter at the thought of gaining access to a venue of such fabled exclusivity. But you guarantee there will be pork, the first dark suit says. The food and beverages director will arrange everything to your satisfaction, Ms. N says. She turns crisply away towards the swarthy man in the black polo neck. Theo, darling, lovely to see you. How is the Prime Minister? She says, and hugs him to her for a second as she brushes her cheek against his. I notice that Theo places one hairy hand on her right buttock as she does so, but she seems not to notice and steps back, smiling her fascinated smile. I know exactly what you need and all arrangements are made, she says, but I think we need to discuss this in my office, no? Perhaps I could offer you a glass of wine there in 10 minutes, as soon as I've sorted out these troublesome journalists. Theo grins with such immense self-satisfaction that pure smugness seems to come welling out of the top of his black polo neck. Your office, he smiles. A glass of wine. I will be there. I am busy adding up the astonishing list of extras on the bill of Ms. Feuchtwangler and Ms. Cladders, but I can see in the lobby that one of the bellboys has summoned Nigel, the duty security manager, who has arrived with 2 assistants to try and calm the situation between the journalists and the guerrillas who are accompanying the Prime Minister. Next to me, one of the other receptionists is trying to secure my attention to deal with a call from the Canadian Embassy about a cancelled booking for the Sapphire Ballroom this evening. I tell her to say that we will call back in a few minutes. The fact that our morally irreproachable Prime Minister himself is going to appear at any moment makes sorting out the fracas a matter of urgency. In fact, I cannot see how Ms. N can restore order in time. Nigel has legs like tree trunks and a neck to match, and his men have physically separated the journalists and the guerrillas. But Nigel is not a diplomat, and it looks as if a fist fight may break out at any moment. I smile to myself and wonder if Nigel has considered calling on Kyoko, our Japanese executive chef, who has a terrifying selection of ultra-sharp chroma kitchen blades and a filthy temper. But clearly Nigel so far rates the potential unpredictability of engaging Kyoko as far riskier than any danger the guerrillas may represent, and I can see no sign of her. While I am wondering what Ms. N can possibly do, I am surprised to see her ignore everyone and walk across the lobby towards the main entrance. She stops right inside the front door, stands up straight but tiny on her high heels, and straightens her exquisitely pressed skirt to indicate she is ready to meet a VVIP, or distinguished visitor, as we're learning to call them. Ms. N's authority and calm radiate across the hotel lobby like the shock waves of some powerful weapon. For an instant, the journalists and security guerrillas forget about each other and turn, like her, to face the entrance. In that same instant, the bellboys haul open the door and Prime Minister Kaya enters. Ms. N takes a step forward and holds out her hand to greet him. From where I am standing, with my hands on the computer keyboard, behind the reception desk, I cannot see her face, but I know that she is looking at him inquisitively, with a hint of a smile. I wish I could be like Ms. N. So that's the end of the first section. I'm just going to have a sip of wine, then I'll read the second section. So the second section of the 2 rooms begins at 16:05. I'm showing a customer on a map the way to the entertainment district of the city when I see Ms. N approaching the counter. She talks to the other receptionists until I finish my explanations and then invites me into the back office for a quiet word. "Yes, Ms. N," I say. "How may I help you?" "Tatiana, as you are in charge of reception this evening, I wish you to be aware of several things. The first is that the gentleman from the Prime Minister's entourage, Theo, wished to discuss with me a matter of the utmost sensitivity." "Yes, Ms. N," I say. "Strictly for your own information, the issue is that Prime Minister Kaya has a predilection for a certain type of service which this hotel does not provide, and of which I personally do not approve." Ms. N looks at me steadily, her face set. "I understand, Ms. N." "At 1900, a woman called Ms. Gentle will arrive to check into suite 1618. The room is, of course, in a different part of the hotel from the Prime Minister and his delegation. The room has been reserved and paid for by Theo. It is for the use of Miss Gentle. I have a copy of her ID here." Ms. N slides across the counter a photocopied page from a passport. It shows an attractive blonde woman with strong features and glasses, like a company executive. At 8 o'clock sharp, the Prime Minister will visit suite 1618 for a period of between 5 minutes and 1 hour Ms. N frowns. Probably closer to 5 minutes. It is vital for the Prime Minister to avoid any kind of publicity for this transaction. Theo tells me that a number of attempts have been made to expose the Prime Minister's private life, including through the use of false identities. Please make sure, therefore, that the IDs match when you give Ms. Gentle the room key. Everything clear? Everything, Ms. N. Second thing, Mr. Burke, the gentleman who has refused to move out of his room, is still in the hotel. I've offered to find him a room in an alternative hotel, but he's declined this. Unfortunately, he's followed up my initial goodwill gesture of a complimentary drink with several more drinks. He is now so inebriated that he's annoying the other guests. That is unfortunate, I say, because we are already one room overbooked. If Mr. Burke is refusing to move out, we are 2 rooms short. Our morally irreproachable Prime Minister and his party have block-booked 40 rooms. 41, including their additional guest. Ms. N's face is impassive. So we have nil flexibility. I've also received a request from 4 of the TV crews who are covering the Prime Minister's press conference at 6 o'clock about why he supports harsher penalties for prostitution. The TV crews want a room in which to file their stories. Also, I wonder whether I should tell her this, the Canadian Embassy has phoned to say that with regret they must cancel the event in the Sapphire Ballroom because their guest of honour has a bereavement. They've offered to pay, but because they are good customers, I've waived the cancellation fee. Unfortunately, this will hit our revenues. Yes, I know we are 2 rooms short. Ms. N is wearing her inquisitive look. And you made the right decision with the Canadians, although it will cost us money. But our main problem is that Mr. Burke, our friend in the denim jacket, has insulted our executive chef, Kyoko. He insulted Kyoko? Yes. He ordered sushi from the lobby bar. This is, of course, Kyoko's genius, for which we have received the Michelin star. Mr. Burke placed a big, complicated order, including many speciality dishes. Kyoko, who was engaged herself in the preparation of the food, brought the order to him personally, set out the dishes, and began to explain the individual items. Unfortunately, Mr. Burke told her to fuck off. I look at Ms. N. I know my mouth is hanging open because I cannot imagine anyone telling Kyoko any unpleasant thing and surviving more than 5 seconds. But this is only the beginning, Ms. N says. Kyoko was not pleased by this, but she thought perhaps she had not understood him because her English is not too good, so she continued to explain her art, the fresh ingredients we fly in from Japan, the special way she is steaming the rice and so forth. Ms. N falls silent. Then what? I ask. Then the customer takes one norimaki, bites into it, and tells Kyoko that her food tastes like shit. He spits out the norimaki on the carpet, then turns over the tray, together with the nigiri, temaki, and oshizushi, and tells her she refuses to pay. Is he still alive? I try to smile, but actually, I'm worried. Yes, he's still in the lobby lounge and he is still drinking. Kyoko, of course, has told me she is unhappy and would like to send in Nigel to throw him out. But I have told her he is a Platinum Megastar member and our options are limited. Also, I have instructed Kyoko not to kill him in the lobby lounge, as this would be bad for the image of the hotel. Kyoko has told me she understands this and has reserved the Lotus massage room in the 10th floor spa to undertake some anger management meditation. I think this is a better outcome than the alternative. Ms. N smiles. But if you see Kyoko approaching the lobby lounge, please call me at once, especially if she is carrying one of her chroma knives. But what about Mr. Burke? I say. We still need his room. Yes, Ms. N says, but some of today's guests are not due to check in until 10 p.m. Perhaps we will have a cancellation by then. Yes, Ms. N. I look at her again and admire her calm and her problem-solving abilities, but she's not finished yet. Unfortunately, the Dolgoff banquet is still unresolved, Ms. N says. Of course, my reference to the Food and Beverages Director was a delaying tactic. He offered our friends in the dark suit a mouth-watering selection of non-pork delicacies, but as I feared, they were not satisfied. Now, Mr. Dolgoff himself has spoken to the hotel owner, our own Miss Sophia, who is indeed his personal friend. Miss Sophia has spoken to the general manager, who, as you know, is on holiday in Bali. The GM has spoken to me. If we do not serve pork at the banquet tonight, the owner will ask our HQ in Houston for a new GM and management team. I know a place where we can buy pork in the city, I say. Thank you, Tatiana, but this is a question of ethics. This hotel chain does not break the law. If we break it so we can serve pork, what will we do next week? Also, and perhaps more important, I cannot allow myself to be threatened in this way. This, too, is a matter of principle. I have agreed with the GM that we shall stand firm, and the GM has explained this to Ms. Sophia. Unfortunately, Mr. Dolgoff is not happy. What will you do? I ask. We will have to serve them the best meal we can, Ms. N says, and hope that they are satisfied. And what about the camera crews? Please ask them to use the cigar bar, Ms. N says. That is very crowded, I say. We have a group of Russian businessmen who are watching the ice hockey championship on cable TV. There is no spare room at all. Ms. N looks me in the eye. Tell them to use the cigar bar, she says. If there is any problem, they should come and speak to me. Would you like me to speak to Kyoko? I say. Perhaps I could try to calm her down. Ms. N smiles. Tatiana, darling, you are wonderful. You have attention to detail, you have the personal touch, you have a grasp of strategy. Keep it up and you will have a great future in our hotel chain, but think carefully, darling. Do you think it would be safe for you to go and see Kyoko when she has just been told by a customer that her norimaki tastes like shit? I think about it for a moment. Then I slowly shake my head. One day, Ms. N, I would like to be like you. One day, Tatiana, you will be much, much better. Then she turns and goes click, click, click across the lobby, her high heels sending a message of power right through the hotel. So that's the end of the second part. I'll just have another sip of wine and then we'll have the third and final part of the story. So the third and final part of the hotel story, the two rooms, starts at 1900 in the evening. Ms. Gentle arrives exactly on time. My first impression is that she is quite an ordinary-looking woman compared with the ladies who are sometimes seen in the lobbies of five-star hotels. But when she comes closer, I see that I am wrong. Her face is finely structured, and behind the spectacles, her eyes are sparkling. When she hands over her ID, she looks at me in the eye, as if I matter. I am so impressed by the interpersonal skills of Ms. Gentle that I want to ask her if she enjoys what she does for a living. But of course, that would be unprofessional and inappropriate. Instead, I check the ID carefully against the photocopy I've been given and study Ms. Gentle herself. There is no doubt that she is the woman I am expecting. I hand back the ID with the key card to suite 1618. Thank you, Ms. Gentle, I say. Then, by accident, I add, good luck. At once I feel awful, because this too is unprofessional and inappropriate. But Ms. Gentle does not seem to mind. For a moment, a beautiful smile appears on her face, and she puts one finely manicured hand on the counter. Why, thank you, Tatiana, she says. I need all the luck I can get. She puts her head a little to one side and takes off her spectacles for a moment. Perhaps today is my lucky day. Then she puts the glasses back on, the smile disappears, and she walks across the lobby towards the lifts. For 15 minutes after the arrival of Ms. Gentle, the lobby is quiet. Guests arrive and check in. I am still fretting that we are 2 rooms down, because some of our late arriving guests are repeat customers who I do not want to bounce into other hotels. Everything seems quiet in the hotel, but I know that beneath the surface there is a lot of pressure waiting to explode. At 19:15, I see Ms. N arrive in the lobby. She is always cruising around looking for problems to sort out, so at first I do not pay her too much attention. But then I see she has an unusual expression, less inquisitive than usual, more mischievous. She walks across to the reception counter. Hello, Tatiana. How are you? I'm well, thank you, Ms. N. But we are still 2 rooms short and the marketing director is complaining about losing the business from the Canadians. We shall live with this. No cancellations yet? No cancellations. Well, it is time to start solving some problems. Is Mr. Burke still drinking in the lobby lounge? Yes, Miss N. Shall I call security? No, thank you, Tatiana. Please, could you go to him and ask him, politely, to leave the hotel? If he refuses, I shall speak to him. Yes, Miss N. I am thinking, of course, that if Mr. Burke has not left the hotel since 10 a.m., he is hardly likely to leave now. But I am confident in Ms. N's judgment, so I follow her instructions. Mr. Burke is sitting in a corner by the window, and at first sight he does not look too bad. He has a glass of whisky in front of him and is cradling a tablet computer in his lap. When I get close, I see that the tablet computer is showing a pornographic movie. I do not wish to look at the images which the tablet is displaying, but I'm unable to avoid seeing that the movie shows a man doing something to a woman which she is not enjoying at all. As I approach Mr. Burke, he looks up. You're the first bitch who tried to throw me out, he says. Good evening, Mr. Burke, I say. Unfortunately, you must leave the hotel now. Is that so? He moves the screen of the tablet computer so that the images are facing me. Do you know that I am a platinum megastar member of this hotel? Yes, Mr. Burke, I do know that, but we have no rooms available. We've booked accommodation for you in another hotel. I've ordered a taxi. Do you know what I'd like to do to you? Mr. Burke lifts up the tablet computer where something is happening which I do not wish even to describe. I'd like to do this, for starters. Then I'll do the same with Ms. N. Then, perhaps, the 2 of you together. I am trying not to look at the images on the computer screen, and I'm feeling sick. I know I should summon Ms. N, but I do not wish to expose her to this man. Then I feel a hand on my arm. Good evening, Mr. Burke. Ms. N's voice is calm and professional. I turn and see she is wearing her inquisitive face. You again? Mr. Burke says. Are you going to try and throw me out now? Take a look at this, baby. He holds up the tablet computer. How would you like to... Mr. Burke. Somehow Ms. N is still calm. I am pleased that you enjoy our hotel, but I must tell you that you may not use the lobby Wi-Fi zones to view images which may be offensive to other customers. It is time for you to leave. I'm not leaving. I am sure that when you have seen what I am offering, you will leave. As you know, We have a number of amenities in this hotel which are reserved for our most valued customers. Like me, you mean? That is correct. Have you ever had a massage here, Mr. Burke? With no happy end? Mr. Burke drains the rest of his whiskey. Are you kidding? We have a new massage therapist who offers a very special service, Mr. N says. I have booked you a complimentary treatment. Before you attend, you should go to your suite, take a shower, and change into the complimentary dressing gown, as the massage will be full body. Shower? Why the hell should I shower? When you enter the room, please remove your dressing gown at once and tell the therapist what treatment you would like. Please be quite explicit, as English is not her first language. I'll tell her exactly what I want. Mr. Burke is smiling in a way I do not like. She will appreciate this, Ms. N says. She is an Oriental woman. You will find her in the Lotus Massage Room in the 10th floor spa. I like the Orientals. Mr. Burke lurches to his feet and leers at me. I'll do you later, he says. I still got lots of juice. I say nothing as Mr. Burke staggers off towards the lift. Then I follow Ms. N back to the reception. Is that safe? I ask when he is gone. Kyoko may still be in the Lotus Room. I know that she is there, Ms. N says. I just texted her to say I'm sending her a treat. What do you think she'll do to him? I think she will have some ideas, Ms. N says. When we arrive back at reception, it is just after 8 o'clock. The award-winning journalist is standing next to a tall, heavily built man in a shiny suit who stinks of cigar smoke. Hello, how may I help? Ms. N says. I'm from the award-winning journalist names a world-famous news channel. Do you really have nowhere else for the news crews to hang out? The cigar club is full of these guys. He indicates the tall man in the shiny suit, having a good time and cheering on the ice hockey. We need a quiet place to file our stories. Tatiana may be able to help you, Ms. N says. She motions me to go behind the reception desk. Suite 1618 has just come free. Could you issue a key card, please, Tatiana? I look at her. Ms. N is smiling her mischievous smile. I nod and issue another copy of the key card, which I have already given to Ms. Gentle. Here it is, I say. Could you give us a couple of spares? The award-winning journalist says. There are 8 of us altogether. I am afraid there's been some misuse of duplicate keys, Ms. N says. I suggest you make sure that all 8 of you arrive and enter the room together. Then coordinate your movements after that. OK, I guess I should be grateful, the award-winning journalist says. Yes, Ms. N says. I guess you should. The award-winning journalist takes the card key and heads off towards the cigar club to collect his friends and go to suite 1618. It is 10 minutes past 8. What would you like me to do now? I ask Ms. N. I would like you to wait with me in the lobby, Ms. N says. For a while, we stand by the reception desk. Nothing much is happening. I want to ask Ms. N how we should find our 2 additional rooms, but I feel confident she has a plan. I am also nervous that the 2 men in the dark suits will reappear and complain about the pork, but there's no sign of them. At 8:30, I see the lift doors open and a group of people spills out. I hear raised voices. It is Theo, the man in the black polo neck, with 4 journalists. Theo is red in the face. He walks quickly towards the reception desk. We would like to have a conference room, he says. He looks at Ms. N as if he is about to say something, but then he notices that the journalists are watching him. Ms. N is wearing her inquisitive look. The Prime Minister wishes to hold an additional press conference at 9:30 to explain the situation. Certainly, sir, I say. What size room will you need? Theo shakes his head and sighs. The largest one you have. That would be the Sapphire Ballroom, I say. Unfortunately, there will be a short notice supplement for us to prepare it by 21:30. Just do it, Theo says. Behind Theo, I see another lift open. This time it is Ms. Gentle. She too has 4 journalists in the lift with her. She looks magnificent, serene, smiling and beautiful. She too approaches the reception desk. She ignores Theo. I would like to hire a room for a press conference. She nods at the journalists. These gentlemen will pay. Certainly, madam, I say. What size would you like? The biggest you got, one of the journalists says. He is smiling like a wolf. Every journalist in town will be there. Our biggest room is already booked, I say. If it's for the Prime Minister's press conference, we'll take it after him, the journalist says. All the journalists look at Theo and Ms. Gentle. Ms. Gentle is looking happy. Theo is not. How about an exclusive on the life story? One of the journalists says to Ms. Gentle. We'll give you $250,000. I'll go to $300,000, the second journalist says. The journalists and Ms. Gentle move away from the reception desk, discussing large sums of money. I see the lift doors open again, and my heart sinks. It is the 2 men in the dark suits. Both of them look angry. Both are walking in a mechanical way as if their suits are still too tight. I wish to speak to the manager about the pork, the first dark suit says. I glance at Ms. N. She nods imperceptibly. The hotel manager is here, I say. She'll be pleased to assist you. Yes, sir. How may I help? Ms. N says, as if she somehow will be able to magic up some legal pork. I have a personal message from Mr. Dolgoff, the second suit says. Suddenly, for the first time, he smiles. Mr. Dolgoff wishes me to tell you that he considers the sweet and sour pork prepared by this hotel the best he has ever tasted. He says the flavour is subtle, yet tender. He says he will buy the hotel from Miss Sophia. When he does that, he will increase the salary of your chef to twice whatever you are paying him. Thank you, Ms. N says. Actually, Mr. Dolgov's banquet was prepared by our executive chef, Kyoko, who is a lady from Japan. I will pass on Mr. Dolgov's appreciation and his offer. I am sure she will look forward to working with him. The second suit looks serious again. But Mr. Dolgov is not happy that you are pretending there is no pork available. Then you are serving pork. This causes him unnecessary concern. That is because no pork is available, Ms. N says. For this hotel to serve pork would be breaking the law. The 2 suits look at each other and frown. One of them smiles. Then they are both smiling. They turn to Ms. N. Oh, no pork is available, says the first suit. Of course, because that would be illegal. So, the second suit says, the meat you served to Mr. Dolgoff was not pork, even though it tasted like pork. That is correct, Ms. N says. That meat was not pork. We understand, the first suit says. We will tell Mr. Dolgoff that you fixed the problem in a very clever way. Perhaps he will recommend a bonus. If there are any bonuses, they should be for Kyoko, Ms. N says. She worked very hard to prepare the banquet for Mr. Dolgoff in good time. Maybe she will wish to buy herself some new chroma knives. The two suits look at Ms. N and nod. Then they walk back to the lift. Ms. N turns to me. Thank you, Tatiana. Please, can you tell housekeeping to start making up suite 1618? This room is now free. Also, they can clear out Mr. Burke's room. He will not be needing it tonight. This gives us the 2 rooms we need for our guests arriving later this evening. I look at Ms. N. She is smiling her mischievous smile. She is good at solving problems. One day, I would like to be like Ms. N. So thank you all very much for listening. I'll just have another slug of wine. I hope you enjoyed the 2 rooms. It's a technical glitch going on there. So I hope you, there's some dramatic music. That's the end of the 2 rooms. If you enjoyed it, please like or share the video on the that you've been watching. Just share it on your Facebook page. That would be great. Take a look at my robertpimm.com website, where you can read all about the hotel stories and other books. And indeed, if you really like the story, you can actually get 7 hotel stories. Here it is, 7 hotel stories. So enjoy that. I'm just going to look and see if there are any questions that anybody wants me to answer. If you've got any questions, I can stay on for a bit, so just put them up there. And I should also mention that the Vienna Theatre Project will be doing another reading at 21:45 tomorrow from 1001 Nights. So do tune in for that if you'd like to hear another reading. So any questions that anybody's got, I'm just looking at my screen here. Please do ask any quick questions on the chat. I see Gerhard is saying, great end, and toasting me with a glass of wine. It's very kind. Thank you, Gerhard. I recommend the Third Man Museum that Gerhard runs if you're in Vienna. Fantastic, one of Vienna's best museums. Pamela, love the French accent. Peter Sellers, eat your heart out. Yes, thank you very much for that. Yes, a truly expert French accent. Anita, memories from my hotel days. Looking forward to reading the rest. Well, yes, I'd be delighted to have your thoughts on that. Catherine, are the books available printed, left to right? Yeah, I know. It's the way the phone works that it turns it round for some reason. But you can buy them. They are normally printed. And Yasemin, lovely to hear from you, Yasemin. Deep in the heart of Turkey, in Istanbul, my wonderful Yasemin. Lovely to hear from you, and thank you very much for tuning in. So I think I don't see any more questions that anybody's asking, although I am available if anybody would like to ask any more questions. Otherwise, I shall wind up and sign off. So look, thank you all. Oops, there's another one just come through from Christian. Thank you for the great story and the wonderful tip. Yep, that is correct. You should never make a fuss in a hotel once you've read that. Andy says, what other books of mine are available? Andy, you're a wise man. There is, of course, Blood Summit, which is up here. I'll just get a copy of it for you. This is my Berlin thriller, Blood Summit, which I strongly recommend. Jolly good read. And Christian, thanks for your kind comment. And Karen, thank you for your kind comment. Here is Blood Summit. And there is the Hotel Stories. That's all my books. Am I writing something now? That's the good question. I am, actually. I'm writing two other novels, which I've just finished. So I have another thriller. I have an Istanbul thriller called Palladium. And then I have 2 comedies set in the UK, one of which is called Sex and the Summit, and the other of which is called How to Be an Ambassador. And they're not available yet, but they'll be up later on. So thank you very much to Karen for your kind words. Great to be read to. It's fun, isn't it? I think it's a forgotten form of performance reading, and it's great fun. I enjoyed doing it very much, so I hope you enjoyed it too. Doretta, the Oscar goes to. Thank you very much, very kind. And Andy, maybe a reading from Blood Summit next time. Well, that's a very intriguing idea. Maybe we'll do this again if the Vienna Theatre Project is happy to have me back. When maybe in our third year of coronavirus lockdown, we'll get round to reading some Blood Summit. The last two non-fiction. Yes, they're comedies set in the UK. They are indeed fiction. Some of you may have read Sex and Summit. It used to be called Pleasing Rosie, one of my favourite books. But I have to wait for a couple of years before I can publish that one. All right, and the Vienna Theatre Project says yes, please, to another reading. So that's very kind of you. Thank you, Vienna Theatre Project. You're stars, and good luck with all your further readings in future. So unless there's any more questions, I'm going to say thank you, good luck, and good night. I've enjoyed it very much, and if you'd like to read any of the books, just go and get them on Amazon there, or they're all available there. So bye then. Thank you very much, and I'm going to lean forward and finish this video. Bye.